Welcome to the I Own It podcast with Ben Reinberg.
We're live from our Laguna Beach studios, our I Own It studios. You can see behind me. And today's guest is very special to me personally. I've been following her for a long time, and a lot of her tricks and skills have rubbed off on me for quite some time. So she is a New York Times best-selling author. She worked 17 years at the ATF under the Department of Justice. She retired from the ATF at the age of 38. This young lady, she is a body language expert. She understands the mind and body connection, and she's an outstanding keynote speaker. A lot of her content you could see online. She's done a tremendous amount of 10X talks that you could follow her on YouTube. And I just want to welcome Janine Driver. Janine, it is such a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Ben Reinberg, I'm so happy. I was counting the day. This has been on my calendar, I think, for a couple months, counting the days to get here.
Well, I really appreciate you being here. And by the way, I love the pink little wrap you got going there. It makes you look fabulous.
Thank you.
So, are you still a New England Patriots fan?
I am, and I'm a Tom Brady fan, even though he jumped ship.
And are you still single?
I am single. Yeah, we're gonna do a shout out. I'm a strong woman.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, fellas, this lady is quite the catch. So once you hear what she has to say and really learn about her, you're going to see what I'm talking about. So during the championship years on the Patriots, if you had a chance to go on a date, and I'll give you 4 options, you can pick one. And obviously Tom Brady is one, Julian Edelman, Adam Vinatieri, the kicker that kicked that field goal in the Super Bowl, and then Bill Belichick. If you could go on a date with one of them, who are you choosing?
Tom Brady. I like people who are driven and successful. And one of the things I love about Tom Brady, and this is what I say about sales training and body language, is I'm often brought back to different companies, is Tom Brady's practicing his throw constantly. It's not like you learn this skill once and you're like, I got it. I got a bunch of Super Bowl rings. And I think in the business world, we think, okay, I've learned this one skill, I've got it. But no, if you really want to be good at that skill, you've got to keep practicing. It has to get into that long-term memory. So I'm all about Tom Brady and his work ethic, and he's so cute. I'm a Tom girl for sure.
Well, everyone thinks Tom's cute. I love about Tom Brady is so humble. After all these championships and success in business, and to be as humble as he is, it's really inspirational.
He's friendly and kind. I remember Roger Clemens, he's a jerk. So Roger Clemens, Massachusetts back in the day. And my brother-in-law saw Roger Clemens in a car once, and he was a little kid. I don't even know, like 11 maybe. And he's like chasing the car. He's like, Roger Clemens. And he rolled up the window and said nothing. And it broke Mike, my favorite brother-in-law, by the way. Don't tell the other one. And it broke his heart. And ever since, I'm not a Roger Clemens fan. But Tom Brady is known to be really polite and friendly.
When the Red Sox won the World Series, what was that like for you?
I'm out of Boston. I've been gone since I was 18.
Yeah, but still, aren't you a fan of the sports teams there?
I can't name any of them, but yeah, I always pull for New England.
Back in the 80s, I used to love the Bird Magic showdowns, and I used to have a pair of those Converse high tops. I was a huge fan of that era in NBA.
Listen, Ben, I don't know if I told you this story, but I worked, as you know, for ATF for a while. And there's this woman named Sherry. She's a redhead, smoking hot. And one night, I don't drink alcohol, but back in the day I did. And I was kicking it back with this Sherry. And I asked her, what's your story? I love the story behind the story. I'm holding a crayon in my hand, by the way. Can you tell I'm a mother?
That's okay. It's very professional.
Yeah, then my youngest loves to color. So I said, what's your story? I love the story behind this. Even like Susan Smith, right? Susan Smith killed her 2 sons, drowned them. I want to know her story behind the story, So Susan Smith had bad stuff happen to her as a kid. Her dad was molesting her. There's always the story behind the story. And so I asked this Sherry, what's the story behind the story? And here's what she said. She was a bartender while she was going to either BU or Boston College, one of them, BU or BC. And she was a bartender across from where the Celtics play, the Garden, we call it, in Boston. I live in Alexandria, Virginia now, for the suitors that are out there. So Sherry said one day, Larry Bird, he'd come in all the time, all the basketball players, and Larry Bird came in and she's on crutches when she's the bartender. And he said, "What's going on, Sherry?" And she goes, I broke my ankle skiing over the weekend and there's a cast. I'm fine. He's, "But why are you working? You're a bartender. It's all wet under there. Like, take a couple days off." She goes, no, I need the money. I go to, I'm going to become an ATF agent, she said. And he's like, "What's ATF?" She told him. And she went to BU or BC and she was a sophomore. She went when she was a little older. She had skipped a couple of years and she said, "I have to, I'm working to pay myself, my bills." She comes from a pretty poor family. She didn't do it to like try to rope him in to give her big tips or anything. It's just, she's not like that. She's very humble. And the next month comes and she doesn't get the bill from the college. And she calls the college and says, "Listen, what's going on here? And you guys didn't send me my bill. I have to pay as I go." And they go, "No, you're paid in full, along with all like book money. Everything's been paid in full." She goes, "No, this is a mistake." They go, "No, someone came in and paid." She goes, "No, this is a mistake." They go, "We can't tell you unless you come in and tell us who you are. We have to see your license." She went in irritated that the school made this mistake. Now she's got to go down there. She's on crutches. She gets there and they said Larry Bird himself came in and paid the bill.
Wow. That is cool. He's amazing. He's amazing.
For like 2 or 3 more years of school. So I love Larry Bird.
So if Tom Brady was going to ask you out on a date, okay, and obviously you already know about him, he could do a lot of research on you, just like everyone does, and sees how impressive you are. What advice would you give him to ask you out? Like how would he go about doing it?
I think, not a lot of people ask me out because I think we all have, no one's perfect. We've all made mistakes. Right. I think that, if people have secrets, I'm very open. I think people think I'm going to judge them and I'm not. In my personal life, I'm very alpha female in my business life. But in my personal life, I like to balance the reins or take the second seat. I'm looking for an alpha man in my personal life, but still respects me in my business life. So on the home front, I would say to Tom Brady, is just be real, just be authentic. I'm just a blue collar kid from Boston. My dad's an auto mechanic, fixed fire trucks for a living at Brookline, Massachusetts. My mom passed from breast cancer. She was a nurse for elderly homeless people. Before that, she was a nurse at Mount Auburn Hospital in Cambridge in the GI unit and in the psych unit. And I'm the oldest of 3 girls, and I'll be nice to his kids and respect him. And I expect the same of my kids. And I want to, I'm looking for a guy. I can't believe we're talking about dating, but I'm looking for the kind of man, Ben, that if I'm doing keto or gluten-free, you call ahead of the restaurant to make sure that I can eat at that restaurant before we go there. And I would do the same for you or Tom or whoever.
Yeah, you want someone that's thoughtful, that takes time to give a shit about your needs, and that's how you build your connection.
Yeah, I'm 51. I think a lot of people are, am I freezing up? A lot of people are operating out of their ego, and I'm over the ego.
Right. Well, Tom, if you're out there listening, this is how you get it done. When you really learn about who you are and dig into Janine Driver, I would think you would be intimidating, like you said, for gentlemen. I mean, let's role play. Let's say you and I are on a date. You're probably doing a body scan of me of like, who is this guy? I'm going to look into his eyes. I'm going to strip him down. And I think for a gentleman, it's intimidating when you have your skill set. I mean, I walked in here and I'm in my studio. I'm really comfortable. I'm like, I have my leg crossed. She's going to think that I'm not paying attention to her because that's what she says, when I start crossing my leg like this or whatever I'm doing. I'm like, I don't care. I'm comfortable. I'm going to listen to every word she says, and it is what it is.
This is why I don't tell people what I do, and most people, aren't finding out. So if you tell people you just work for like, I worked for a nonprofit for 18 years, almost like federal government's nonprofit. No one asks questions when you say you worked for a nonprofit. I try to get people to just, I'm very funny and quick on my feet. I used to do stand-up comedy, and I'm pulled towards funny people. I'm not looking for someone who has a lot of money. I mean, it's great if he has his own. I don't need his money. I have my own money, and I'm I would like to say, not in an egotistical way, that the amount of money I bring in, I have a very comfortable lifestyle. And I have a beautiful house. I have beautiful kids. I travel. I'm about to join this boat club. And I was going to buy a boat, but instead there's this boat club that you can join. So I could take out the party boat if I want. I could take out the speed boat. I can take out the sleeper cabin boat. And you make 4 reservations at a time. And so I'm going to join this boat club so I can mix it. I'm a Gemini, so I like diversity and change.
Should I look at my calendar? Like, when's this happening? Because I got to be on the boat. You'd be great on a boat.
Are you married? You're married.
I'm married. Yes, I'm married. I have 3 kids. By the way, I happen to have someone. My middle son stopped at In-N-Out Burger, and I brought you some ketchup cups because I think it's important to share the ketchup cup story. You can see it on TEDx, this talk, but you talk about the words. And one thing I really love about what you do is I can incorporate it into my daily life. And when I learned grammar, it was like, don't start a sentence with because. And now all of a sudden, what I do for a living and the amount of emails I get, I'm using because a lot because of you have it ingrained in me. And so, and it's working, which is really cool because every time I do something that I learned from you, I'm like, this isn't, maybe it will work. Well, and it does. It's crazy. And we can get into the reasoning part of it and you can explain a little further. But so explain the ketchup cup to everyone, because I think it's such an important topic. Communication is everything with the technology we have in the digital age, and people want to text and email. No one picks up the phone like you and I used to do. Do you remember, like, back in the day, we had the rotary phone? Those days are over. Like, the art of the phone call, I think, is lost, and we're using technology rapid, like crazy. And I think the fact that you teach these incredible skills where you can utilize the ability to communicate with someone in a proper way. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the ketchup cup and explain.
Now, before we get to the ketchup cup, I want to talk about what you just said here, Ben, which is we are so into these videos right now, these video phone calls and Zoom and all these online meetings. And a study came out that this is the 3rd most effective way to be doing our meetings. Number 1, of course, is in person. The power of a handshake is equivalent to 3 hours of building rapport. So if you're not shaking someone's hand in person, now you're behind the 8 ball by 3 hours, okay? We think that we do these videos, this is the 2nd best over a phone call. It's not true, it's reversed. A phone call is more effective right now instead of doing these Zoom meetings or these video meetings. And I'm going to tell, well, actually, I'll ask you, can you guess why?
I don't understand why a phone call would be more productive than a video call. Cause I like seeing, like what you teach, and I have other mentors and friends of mine that teach. I love looking at the body language. Cause when I could look at the eyes and I could see, are they looking upright or left? I've taken NLP classes. And I feel that I could use those skills on a video. So explain to me why a phone call would be so productive.
When I'm on this video call, I have to look right here at this little camera, okay? And it's not normal for someone to be looking straight nonstop. In a normal meeting, the average eye contact in a business setting should be about 65%. 85% is intimidating. You'll get that with like used car salesmen, people trying to, sell you a bill of goods will oversell with too much eye contact. So the average is about, 50 to 65%. When we do these Zoom calls, I have to look right here, and I'm not really, am I looking at you? Am I looking in the camera? So it looks like I'm looking directly at you instead of looking down. And it causes us to not be as effective. If this was a phone call, like a meeting, and we're talking, I'm walking around, I'm actually more connected and listening more to you, because my brain, NLP, my eyes can go and gather information from the emotional part of my brain. It can come down here in internal dialogue. I can visualize when we're talking, I can visualize what you're talking about. Yeah, I can picture that. But if you're not allowing my eyes to go access all these accessing cues, you're not getting the best version of me, because it's unlikely that when someone's in this video, they're going to go, well, And if they do, it's a disconnect. And so it comes across as maybe being deceptive. So phone calls are more effective with life coaching, with if you really want someone's authentic opinion to let them think about it, it's a phone call. So I give you that as a sidebar before we get into the catch-up calls, because even you and I chatting on the phone with Tony, right? I mean, we had a great conversation. I hung up with Tony and I'm like, I think I have a crush on Ben. Is he married? I love him. And he's like, yeah, he's married. Slow your roll. And I'm like, all right. I'm still looking.
But wait, I'm competing with Tom Brady. That's, I mean, I don't know. I think I could rise to that challenge, but he's going to be tough to beat. I mean, he's got, I mean, what does he have, like 7 Super Bowl rings or something?
Yeah. Well, listen. So think about that phone call, though, right? We had a great phone call, and you get to be you, I get to be me, and it's not this like, am I being judged by what I look like in that moment? Right. So, but the ketchup cup thing, I love metaphors and analogies, and I'm super visual. And I've done a couple TED Talks, 4 of them. 2 went pretty viral and watched by, I think, combined like 8 million people. But
by the way, I think I've watched it like 50 times, so you might have to subtract that. So it might be a little skewed.
I'll give you a little. I brought my paper and my crayons here.
Oh, awesome!
Yeah, I'm so very visual. So I love metaphors and analogies. As a matter of fact, I was just coming up with one a week ago for my next TED Talk. I'm like, that's going to be in my next TED Talk. I want to talk about the Easter Island heads. You know, these Easter Island heads, right? Mm-hmm. They're so famous, these big giant heads. Do you know, as big as that head is, there's a body just as big underneath the ground? 20 feet under the ground is a full body. All those Easter heads that we see on Easter Island have full bodies underneath the earth.
Really?
Did you know this?
No, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, so I want to use that as my, metaphor analogy. I always mix those up for a future TED Talk about, we're only seeing this like the iceberg. You're seeing the tip of the iceberg, but it doesn't mean there's not so much more underneath. So I love these visual things that we can put in. It helps people remember it, like you. So these paper ketchup cups, I had learned about them several years ago, that they open, and you always get like 10 of them and fill them up with ketchup or mustard or whatever, salsa. But they actually are made to open. I have a box of 1,000 of them here. I bring them to events to give them away as a gift at the end. I tell people to pin it up to your board. Yeah, you should pin that up onto like your cork board.
I think I'm going to have you sign the bottom.
Yes, that's what I should do. Sign.
Wouldn't that be cool?
These cups open, and what I used it as I think it's called a metaphor. I used it as an example of the unreached potential that we all have in our life, that it's lying in the folds. And what my job is to help you open up those folds so you can be the best version of you. I don't want you to be a Ben Reinberg or a Janine Driver. Are you showing up as the best version of you? And all this greatness is in those folds. And I show that in the TED Talk, I show the picture of this tiny cup like you have versus it opens to 3 times its size.
Wow.
And then I talk about, and that talk is called How 5 Words Can Get You What You Want. And I talk about what are some of these words.
It's great. I mean, when you're coming up with content, and let's go back. So when you worked for the ATF and you were interrogating people, did a lot of these skills come into play where you start writing notes and you're like, wow, I could use this word or this tone, and this will get me to what I'm trying to accomplish? Like, how did you create even the ketchup cup and these other concepts you've come up with? Like, where do they come from? And like, what's the backing behind them that says, hey, this works? And it does. I mean, everything you do, I've tried, and I'm like, man, like, where's she coming up with this stuff?
It's funny because I teach other people. I have a train the trainer class, and I've had friends and associates say, you're out of your mind. You're gonna teach yourself out of business if you teach everyone this? And I go, no, because I get to live with this brain and this creativity. I'm just quick on my feet. I like cheeky expressions. Like, the higher the hold, more anxiety is told. Like, I say, so do this one, Ben. Say, who's on the phone?
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 Who stresses you out the most? Yes. So the higher the hold, more anxiety is told. Or
interesting.
When we don't like what we see or hear, our lips disappear. I'm so happy you're here. and their lips disappear. It's withholding information. So I'll give you one yesterday. So I'm weighing in on this Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial every day.
Yep.
And I wanted to talk about yesterday. This is the notes from, I was on Court TV last night, Court TV.
Oh, wow.
And I was sitting in my car. I just came back. They told me the segments, which is Johnny Depp has a different version than Amber of what happens in the stairs in their apartment building at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a witness, Johnny's security guard, who sides with Johnny's side of the story. And this Amber Heard, Johnny's ex-wife, said kinda. She said, I literally have it written down. Oh, here it is. Amber said, he had his hand on the back of my head, my hair, and kinda was yanking me down. But she doesn't do this. She just goes, he had his hand on the back of my head, my hair, and kinda yanking me down. I was sitting in the car with my au pair from Italy, and I said, I need to make I want to talk about this kinda, because people think of me as a body language expert, but I'm also a specialist in what's called statement analysis, words that have hidden meaning. It's invented by a guy named Mark McGlish, who analyzed all these statements from law enforcement. I want to talk about kinda. And in business, if you hear kinda, I'm going to tell you what this means.
Sure. Go ahead.
So if I said, I'm kinda married, are you married or are you not? My wife and I kind of have an open marriage. Well, you either do or you don't. I said on CNN, on Court TV rather, last night, if you're on Bumble and someone says, I'm kind of married, you should be concerned, right? This is not the person for you.
Well, you're not creating certainty. That's what you're saying.
Well, so this is what I came up with yesterday with my au pair from Italy. When you hear a kinda, there's more to finda. Now, I said this 3 times last night. Vinny Politan, who's interviewing me on Court TV, got such a kick out of it. He's laughing. So when you hear a kinda, there's more to finda. Now, it sounds stupid, but the dumber and more simpler, the better. The smaller the words, I think people think they're fancy when using fancy words, but when you use fancy words, it's not hypnotic. It's not persuasive. Hypnotic and persuasive words are smaller words. So when you hear a kinda, there's more to finda. People will remember that. I said it 3 times last night. You have to hear it 7 times to have it really stick in your long term there. Then here's the problem. Travis McGiven, who's the security guard, said the initial look on Johnny's face after he got punched kinda mirrored mine, kinda looked like shock. So, well, what's the difference? He's using a kinda and Amber. Well, one is an action and one is an emotion. When there's an emotion, emotions ebb and flow. I kind of felt embarrassed. I was kind of upset. Well, because you were embarrassed and shocked and you were a little angry. It makes sense to say kind of when it comes to emotions because they're blending. But when it comes to a definitive action, we kind of think we're going to move forward with you, right? Or whatever it is. My kids kind of threw me in the pool yesterday. When there's a kinda, there's more to find us. So you would want to ask additional questions. So my kids kind of threw me in the pool yesterday. You'd want to say, so walk me through what happened. Well, I knew they were going to throw me in the pool, but I know they get such a kick out of it. So I kind of walked on the edge of the pool, right? Like right near where the little kid pool is to let them throw me in.
So when someone says kinda, you follow up with a question. Is that
you
the
follow
lesson?
up? There's more. Imagine if I said I kind of ate a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for lunch.
Right.
Well, you either ate it or you did. Kind of yanked me down the stairs. Great. What? Slow it down. Tell me more details of what happened. She's making this enormous statement. And when there is a kinda, there's more to find out. It means slow it down, get more details. This is how this kind of works. Imagine if I'm your vendor. This is how this kind of works. Do you want to buy my product?
No.
Well, walk me through step by step of how this is going to benefit me. Then you should use my services. It's kind of going to help your business grow. You'd be like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I'd be like, Janine, sorry, next. Well, so as the lesson you're sharing with everyone is when you're communicating, use certainty. Even if you're not certain, do you use certainty just to build the trust and confidence?
If you
to build your own confidence?
Yes. If you yourself use the word kinda, because sometimes it's a verbal filler, but it hurts what's called your executive presence, us being able to trust you. So, and respect you. So respect is connected to competence. Okay. And if you want me to respect you, you have to come across as competent. And competent people don't say, this is how this kind of works. When you hire me as a keynote speaker, you're going to kind of get these kind of results. If you notice you say that, then you want to, on yourself, you want to give more details. And by kind of, let me show you all the testimonials I have from my clients at Coca-Cola and Booz Allen Hamilton, and everyone gets a slightly different result, but my training can help reduce hiring mistakes by 89%.
Well, let's talk about some other words you mentioned, which I stopped using, by the way. This was like, I don't know, it was like 3 or 4 weeks ago. This is enough. I think you're like talking to me sometimes, Janine, even though you're not with me. It's kind of weird. I just said kinda. With that being said,
Kind of weird. That's an emotion, not an action. So
yeah,
it makes
you're right.
sense there.
All right, scratch that. The word awesome. Explain to everyone why you shouldn't use, because so many people use the word awesome. I do, because I want to empower people. So like my employees, friends, colleagues, family, I always want to be on this upbeat, like, when someone says, "How are you doing, Ben?" I say, "I'm fantastic. I'm doing awesome. I'm getting better every day." Whatever, because I want that energy coming off me to portray it. So why should I not use the word awesome then?
Awesome. There's a TED Talk out there, and I don't have the woman's name in front of me. I wish I did. Google TED Talks on awesome. And awesome is an overused word. It's ordinary now. Awesome has taken the place of thank you. Hey, Janine, I sent you this document. Awesome. Instead of saying thank you, Ben. Or great. Hey, Janine, let's get together when I'm in town next Friday. I'm going to be in the DC area. Great. I'm available on Friday after 6. Awesome. So awesome has become ordinary. So if you want to be ordinary, then keep saying awesome. When it first hit the stand of the society, it was great because it was different. It was trendy. And now it's ineffective. And what I tell people to do, Ben, and maybe you did this, is you open up your cell phone and you see how overused it is. So here, this is a woman I just met at this law enforcement event, Beth Karras. I don't know if you know her. She's a former prosecutor that's on these TV shows, Court TV and stuff. But right here in messages at the top, you type in a search and you see how often people are using the word awesome, you and others. And I have a list that goes on and on. Look at, see all. All these text messages have the word awesome. Are you ordinary, or do you want to come across as unique and extraordinary? Awesome is a shark who has all these teeth that move in a conveyor belt. And when they lose their teeth, they grow new teeth. That's
so
awesome.
what's the word you suggest using? If it's not awesome, what do you replace it with?
Well, I would go to thesaurus and find out what word works for you. So let's see here.
Wait a minute. You got to teach the younger generation there's a thesaurus.
Thesaurus. Okay.
Thesaurus. That's a tough word to say, by the way.
This is a great thesaurus. If people don't know this, again, small words are hypnotic. So anytime I'm writing copy for my business or for television, so I get a lot of people ask who my PR team is. It's me. My degree was in English communications in college with a minor in public relations. So I'm going to be in a Nancy Grace special next Friday on the Johnny Depp case. I'm in the courtroom this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Court TV called me last night at the end of my presentation. I'll be back on Court TV all 3 nights. I'm going to be analyzing the jury and reading their body language. So say I want to type in the word, any word. So say you usually use a big word like, what's a big word? Maybe you say the word, maybe something, it's not even a big word, catalyst. Okay. This is a catalyst for change. You would want to go to the thesaurus, type in catalyst, and find the word with the least amount of letters. You should be talking and using words that a 10-year-old boy would understand, or a 10-year-old girl. When you do that, you become memorable, and it's hypnotic. When you use words that, like, say, esoteric. You know, what he said is very esoteric. Okay, well, is a 10-year-old boy going to understand what esoteric means? It's not a big word. You know it, I know it. It's not hypnotic. So what could I say instead? So awesome. Instead of awesome, amazing, astonishing, astounding, awe-inspiring, breathtaking, imposing, inspiring, magnificent. Ben, how you doing? Magnificent. How are you, Janine?
How are you, Janine?
Hey, Mike, how are you doing? Awesome. Hey, Jennifer, how you doing? Awesome. Hey, Ben, how are you doing? Astounding.
Well, if you ever hear me say awesome, you could just slap me. Be like, okay. What'd I teach you, Ben?
I'm going to charge you $1.
Grab my ear.
All right. So look, instead of saying, what did I say? Esoteric. Yeah. Esoteric. Okay. Let's see what it comes up. So obtruse, no. Arcane, mystical, no. Deep, cryptic. So cryptic would be way better. You know, I had this conversation with Ben, And I don't know, some of the things he said were so esoteric to me. Hey, I had this conversation with Ben Reinberg, and some of the things he was saying to me were so cryptic. Cryptic? Ooh, tell me more. Why? What was he saying? Cryptic, right? So the smaller the words, the better. My best friends and my favorite employees are YouTube and Google.
Good. And you know what? They sound cheap and no benefits. And I kind of like that concept. You
By the
know,
way, when I came up with this ketchup cup, I
Yeah.
find my metaphors and analogies, I'll go online and I'll say, fun facts no one knows. Interesting things people don't know about. And then I'll learn about it and I go, oh, I'm gonna use that here.
so decidedly because change is what was. I encourage everyone, if you have not seen this TED Talk, you will not watch it once. I will guarantee you watch it over and over because it's a very powerful talk she gives on stage, and I suggest you watch it. It's incredible. Let's talk. Some of the Johnny Depp stuff. We don't have to get in depth. I mean, by the way, Janine has a TikTok account called Body Language Institute, which is really cool. You can watch it. It's something I follow with Janine. And one of the things you said to me a while back, you said, Ben, men get a bad rap, and society really gives a woman the benefit of the doubt. And I'm not, and every situation's different. Explain what you mean by that. You say it so well, and I love when you talk about this.
Well, the first thing I do when I'm analyzing anyone, sometimes I'm brought into meetings like before. So oftentimes I'll be brought into when someone's hiring an executive and you're going to pay them a lot of money, like $1 million salary. And especially if you're hiring someone from outside of the company, I'll be brought in to sit at this boardroom table to weigh in on the QT. You don't know that I'm there analyzing your word choices and your body language, because words have over 5,000 words have hidden meaning. Maybe we'll get to some of them here. And the body language, and then I give my feedback on what I'm seeing, and even with decision making, some movements connect to how we make decisions in life. Maybe we'll talk about those. And so what I'm doing is in these moments, I'm trying to evaluate the whole entire situation. Sorry, now I lost my ADD. What was the original question?
The original question was, why do men get a bad rap?
Oh yeah. So here, this is what I wanted to say. So the first thing I do before I analyze someone, whether it's in a boardroom or it's a politician or Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, is I first say, do I have a bias here? Because if I don't say it, then I have a confirmation bias that's going to take over an analysis. As a matter of fact, someone just said to me, I think you have a bias towards Johnny Depp. You like Johnny and not Amber, on my TikTok page. And I said, you're right. I do have a bias, but it's not towards anti-Amber. My bias is towards truth. Right. Yes, I have 3 sons. We watched maybe 1 and 2 of Pirates of the Caribbean. I didn't know much about Johnny Depp. I mean, I didn't hate him. I didn't like him. I never had a poster of Johnny Depp on my bedroom wall growing up. I had pictures of Michael Jackson on the wall.
You're dating yourself.
I know, and I never even heard of
everyone loved Thriller, of course.
Yeah. So what happens is when I am going to analyze someone, I say, do I have a bias? As a mother of 3 sons, I have a bias that men today are getting a bad rap. Men, no matter what their color is, right? Black men more than white men, statistically. And what happened was Johnny Depp got dropped from Pirates of the Caribbean. He found out about it online. Disney didn't even call him, and according to his testimony, and for Johnny Depp's. And Amber Heard still gets to be in her movie, Aquaman Part 2. She's not dropped right away before the case is even heard. And I think that does such a huge disservice to, what happened to being, innocent until proven guilty. And so I'll give you an example. Judge Kavanaugh and Dr. Ford, when this whole thing went down, I had a bias. I have a bias as a mother of 3 sons that we immediately think, Judge Kavanaugh, he did these things. He's a bad guy. By the way, politically, I'm an independent. My ex-husband's a Republican, and all my family from Boston are all Democrats. So I'm right here. I just want someone to do a good job for us. So we get this bias that I'm the mother of 3 sons and men are getting screwed, right? We don't give them the benefit of the doubt.
Right.
Hey, same thing happened. The Duke rape case. I don't know if you remember this. A handful of Duke lacrosse guys. I played lacrosse in high school. Lacrosse guys hired this stripper and they thought she was ugly, and they made fun
Mhm.
of her and called her ugly. She
Mhm.
left, went to the police department, and said these boys raped her. They get kicked off the team. They get labeled rapists. Their futures, their families are dragged through the mud, and it was all a lie because she'd hurt her feelings that they called her ugly. And I'm sure other mean things. They were drinking and stuff. But nevertheless, so we didn't give those kids the benefit of the doubt. And in fact, they were telling the truth, right? It's just so sad. But Dr. Ford, I have a bias. I was molested as a kid when I was 6, just one time. But I say just because I've met so many people that have had unbelievably traumatic experiences. This happened once. By the way, just is a minimizing word. So when I teach you what you learn, you can't unlearn it. So when you do it, you have to just like say it. Like I said just, and then I cleared up. Why did I say just? Just
Mhm.
like if you say kinda, you want to explain, well, let me give you more details of what I mean here.
Right.
It boosts your credibility. So anyway, I have a bias towards this story as well because this was a next door neighbor. I was climbing his tree. I was a tomboy as a kid, and he told me to come in his shed and play this fun game. And some things happen. It's irrelevant. But my mother called me for dinner pretty quickly, and he told me to come back. The game gets better after dinner, and not to tell my parents. Well, when I leave, I can tell you the shed I know is a white shed. The door opened from left to right. It was one of those slides. His chair that he had me undress and sit on his lap, the chair was off to the left, but I was facing out. He was behind me. But I remember crossing the street, thinking this was not a fun game, and walking on the other side of the sidewalk home. I don't know what we had for dinner. My mother said that afterwards, she gave me a bath and with my sister Carrie, a year younger. I was 6, she was 5. I told my mother everything. I don't know exactly what I told her. I don't know what we had for dinner. I don't know what color my pajamas were. I don't know what outfit I was wearing. I know that my mother called the police and a nurse came and the police came and they gave me a box of crayons with the sharpener in the back. I was a blue collar kid. We didn't have money growing up. You only got these at Christmas, those sharpener ones with like 124 bucks. My kids to this day are like, can we get fresh new crayons? And I'm like, anytime you want. Like, I will get these kids. We'll have 100 boxes if they want them because it was such a big deal for me.
Yeah.
I drew a drawing, and the drawing had the chair in the right spot and the shed next to the tree. And I'm 6. When kids are lying and they draw the picture, there's a butterfly and there's no shed, but the same color shirt, whatever it was, he was wearing, I had in the picture. And when I did stand-up comedy, they made us take our worst moment of our life and turn it into a joke. And so I would then say, I did such a good job with the drawing, my mother put it on the refrigerator for the next several years because those good art pieces, so it's not funny. But we had to come up with this exercise doing stand-up, taking pain and turning into, it was not funny. But I
Right.
remember this joke. So I have this bias towards men being considered guilty before
Mhm.
giving them the benefit of the doubt. And then I had a bias towards not remembering all the details, which Dr. Ford couldn't. Once you can name it, you can tame it. So once I can name my biases, now my biases are not controlling me. I can be aware. Is my confirmation bias running the show right now? I have an au pair. It's a nanny from another country. She got in a car accident. I just got this Honda Accord. I think it was 4 months old. She backed into another car.
Mhm.
And when this happened, I was angry because she sugarcoated the situation. And because I made her take me, and she said she was trying to avoid a tree, but the tree was so far away. Anyway, I was mad. And it took me a couple of weeks and I don't even know if I'm still over it. Even though I am logically, this confirmation bias takes over, and it's like now I'm looking for the bad. I'm looking for the bad. I'm looking for the bad. Where else is she sugarcoating? Where else is she sugar? And she's not. And because I know this, I'm able to say, Janine, that's your stinking, my mother would call it stinking thinking.
By the way, I'm a big fan of your mother. You said once, and it really resonated with me because I was hurting someone, not intentional, but your mom would say, hurt people hurt people. And that really affected me when you said that. Oh, this was a long time ago. And I think that triggered me personally saying, I gotta work on myself. I gotta improve myself. And it was really your mother saying that kind of kicked me
Mhm.
in the head and said, Ben, get your act together.
Well,
And
you're making
so,
me
uh,
emotional telling me that.
well, I'm grateful. It was something, and this is before I knew who you were. I saw this video, and someone sent it to me, and I think they were sending me a message, and it said, hurt people," and I watched it again, and I'm like, wow, she's right. And it leads me into, you said you were angry. And it's one of the things I started doing is, and I kind of laugh at myself a lot because of this exercise is, so if everyone doesn't know, one thing Janine teaches, which is really cool, because I think it touches all of us every day, is that, whether you're driving, you get pissed off at someone, or you're pissed off at your significant other or your kids or employees or other colleagues, or you name it, whatever's out there, you're going to get mad. That's just life. That's human nature. And so how do you control your anger? So I'll let you explain. I mean, I could explain it, but I think you're better at it. So how do you deal with anger? Because now I do the same thing.
So there's a guy out there, and you can find a ton of stuff on him online, mostly about kids, but also with business, Splash, Dr. Dan Siegel. And he talks about when you name it, you tame it. So when you can name how you're feeling or the level of your emotion, the act of naming how you feel brings the blood back to the neocortex, and you can make smarter decisions. But when we're pissed off, if you don't name it, you're thinking with your reptilian or mammalian brain, which is this fight, flight, survival, like, rah, right? You're coming out with all this anger. And if we have time, I'll talk about the 7 levels of anger.
I have all day for you, lady. Don't worry about it.
What'd you say, hon?
I have all day for you. Don't worry about it.
Oh my God, I love you. I know you're a busy man. I'm gonna see. I just sent this graph to a friend of mine. I want to get these 7 levels of anger here, and we'll talk about it. So if you can name it, you can start thinking with your higher, your neocortex, smarter thinking, right? Homeostasis comes back. So I made this little cheeky thing. I say, as soon as I get pissed, because I'm a recovering hothead, I say 0. By the way, anyone who knew me 15 years ago, 10 years ago, even 7 years ago, they wouldn't believe I am who I am today. I'm full of joy. I have happiness. At 1 a.m. last night, I played 1990s hip hop, and I was upstairs at 1 a.m. I was so stressed. My refrigerator broke. I had to take everything out of the refrigerator, everything out of the freezer. I'm throwing it away. It was a night. I have to buy a brand new refrigerator. It's a couple $1,000. And this is like midnight. So by 1 a.m, my stress is high. I'm getting pissy. And I'm like, Alexa, play. Oh, my Alexa's going to play.
What, like Run DMC or something?
Oh, yeah. I had Eminem on there. I had
that's
big
cool.
butts, and my au pair who's here from Italy visiting. We're up dancing 1:15, and we blared it. The kids were sleeping. We blared it, and I went to bed at 2:05, and I was full of joy. So I could have been pissed about the fridge. I'm not happy about it, but I had a dance party. I mean, it was awesome. I'm like, I love Amazon. Oh, my Amazon's talking. Alexa, stop talking. So here's the deal. Name it to tame it. So I created the system 0 to 7 below, let it go, 8, 9, 10, be pissed off then. So I say, as soon as I get mad, I'm like, okay, 0 to 10, what's my number? As soon as I can say what my number is, I'm now thinking again. And I like when people my mother would say, do you want to be right or do you want to be effective? I'd much rather be effective. In the old days, my ego always wanted me to be right. I'm less right than I am effective these days. So 7 below, let it go. So listen to this. A friend of mine said, I was in the car complaining about something. I go, do you know what happened? Blah, 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 blah. And my friend Aida looked at me. I'm complaining. And she goes, what's your number? That's all she said. What's your number? And I was like, you bitch, using my weapons against me, Aida.
Well, let me. So a lot of the stuff I do, like I always range in like a 2 to 4. Normally, I use the word ly, but it's the truth. And with that being said, what if I hit like an 8 or a 9? Like, am I just like accept the anger and know like this shall pass and be done with it? Like. So explain, if you're above the 7, what happens? What do you do?
The good news is if you are an 8, but you now, by saying you're an 8, you now have higher level thinking. Your blood is now in the neocortex. So even though you're an 8, you can make a smarter decision here. I'll give you an example. My father, I like camping, and I was redoing my camper. I like kind of like modern country feel.
Are you a tent person or an RV person? Like when you say camping, that's a wide range.
Like
RV. What
is
that?
Like an RV, like fancy RV.
Okay, so you're RV and going to the parks and driving all over America. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, that's those fancy ones. Yeah, I love. It has a pull down kitchen outside.
Is this like your name's on the side? And it's like a Janine Driver tour bus. Is that what we got?
Tony, I did that once. I bought an RV when my second book came out. You Can't Lie to Me, and I called it the Truth Tour. and my face was
Uh-huh.
across the whole entire thing. I had these interactive trick pictures. Like it said, crack here, break open here. And you saw my book, You Can't Lie to Me. Break this glass case. And it had a thing here. It said, break in case of an emergency. It was all shattered. And wherever we went, people would punch it or they'd hit it with a chair. We brought a baseball bat, so it made it look like this trick art. Another one, I had this giant book I was hanging out in the back of the RV. And you'd get underneath it as if you're holding this 700-pound book. That was
Right.
fun. That was fun. The problem with that is the handle of the RV was my giant face. And where the handle was, the sticker came off and it was black. So it looked like my face had a Hitler mustache.
Yeah.
And I didn't know. And I pulled into a campground in like Kentucky and someone said, I like your Hitler mustache. I go, what are you talking about?
Oh boy.
And I look and the sticker had come off that black handle on the RV and it looked like I had a Hitler mustache. Can you see me? Am I freezing up? Should I go to another room?
I think we're both freezing up. We're just dealing with technology today. You know, we had some fires in Laguna the past few days, so I don't think
I'm gonna try another. I'm trying another floor. Okay, we're gonna move.
Give us a tour of your house while we're. Give us a tour. This is like MTV Cribs. We get to see your crib with you. I love it.
You can't. I don't know if you can really see. This is my.
You probably have a really cool crib. Oh, that's cute. Look at you, well decorated.
Thank you.
Is that from your doing, or you hire someone?
What? Oh no, me.
Oh, look at you.
We'll go to.
You're more than just a communications expert.
This is my front porch.
Wow, beautiful. Oh, I love the pillows.
And then look at this fun swing right here.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. I can't wait to come over. Look how green your lawn is. That's beautiful.
Oh, yeah, my front lawn. Right.
Oh, baby. That looks amazing.
I have these window boxes.
Uh-huh. Wow. Hey, don't show your address. The world's going to come over and start knocking on your door.
Blur that out.
We'll edit that out.
You see my
what does that say? I can't see it. Oh, look at you.
The
happy tree house. Fun, kindness, respect, and safety.
What are my family values? They'll tell you fun, kindness, respect, and safety. And if you say, well, why is safety last? My kids will tell you, because if safety was first, there'd be no fun.
How old is Angus right now? He's your oldest. How old is he?
16. And Charlie and Jack are 8.
What about Jack and Charlie? How old are they?
8 and 7.
How old are they? Oh, 8 and 7. Okay, great. 16, that's an interesting age.
Yeah, he's an 86-year-old man in a 16-year-old body.
Right.
They're good.
Hey, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of people in business that follow me. And explain to everyone, when you're talking to someone, you meet someone, you have 5 seconds. You know, that first 5 seconds is so critical to implement something. Explain that to everyone. I think that's a really good lesson you teach.
We make a first impression so quickly, and a first impression lasts a very long time. And this is nothing late, not breaking news. Everybody knows this. But because this confirmation bias, today I'll give you an example. I was 32 minutes late for our meeting. I was at a law enforcement event over here in National Harbor. It ran longer than I expected. The head honcho that was running the event was there. Some famous actress from Law and Order. Everyone would know if I told you her name or showed you her picture. She was there. All these different people, and they're asking me some different questions. And I'm trying to wrap it up and to get here. And I'm like, listen, guys, here's my cell phone number. Let's talk another time. I have a meeting that it's been planned. I don't even know, 2 or 3 months now for us to be here. Why is that? Because I think I've made a good first impression with you. I've had other phone calls with you. You've seen me on, another webinar. My information has been helpful to you. And so in these moments, because hopefully I've made a good first impression, this is not my first impression, that you will give me the benefit of the doubt that this is not my baseline. This is not my normal thing to be 33 minutes late or 32 minutes late.
Have you found, it appears to me like when you talk about your background and everyone knows you're a stubborn person, in a good way. You're laughing, I could see it. Are you grateful for how far you've come in life and looking at, I was working for the government and now I'm this world-class speaker around the world, and you consult with companies and you solve problems and challenges for others and companies. Where are you on the gratitude scale, because I hear it in your voice and the way you talk about your mom and your kids and your life, and you've been wildly successful and earned every penny. What does that look like for you?
Thanks, Ben. By the grace of God, I have this, gift to gab. I'm the best version of me when I serve others. I'm very grateful.
Let's talk about Blue Streak. One of the things you discuss is about Blue Streaks. What was a Blue Streak moment you had that said, I can do this. I can speak. I can serve others? Because when I look at you, and we've talked before, you like to serve others, which I do too. It's one of the things that you and I have a lot in common. We have a lot of things in common, but this is probably one of the top level things I think we connect on. You love to serve people. What was the Blue Streak moment you had where you said, you know what, I can do this. I can serve others. I have a lot of skills. I've interrogated thousands of people. I could use some of that in what I do. What was that moment?
So I'm going to talk about three people in particular. One is my dad is an auto mechanic and fixes fire trucks. Okay. But when there'd be a 5-alarm fire growing up as a kid, he's the mechanic. He would get up in the middle of the night, 2 or 3 in the morning, and he would go to the fires. And I used to say, why do you go? You're the auto mechanic. And he goes, because if the trucks break down or the CO2 tanks don't work, lives are on the line. So I get up, and I'm from Boston, in the middle of the night, freezing cold, and he'd go to those 5-alarm fires. And I just watched that, like, selflessness. He didn't have to do that. That was out of love for keeping these men and women, protecting our community safe. Now, my mother worked for elderly homeless people. I wish I could help homeless. I can't. I'm a smell person. If there's like a smell that's like, I like play the game, find the weird smell, right? Like I'm a smell person. I couldn't do it. So my mother had the patience of a saint. And then it was all about giving back. And then my one of my mentors named JJ Newberry. He's called the human lie detector. He can detect deception at over 85% accuracy. He's called a truth wizard. And now, by the way, now I'm holding like this little kid's toy. I don't know if you can. I'm like surrounded here by kid stuff. And JJ took me under his. I had in ATF. They used to have these JJ Newberry moments. And I called him. I Googled him and called. I don't think they had Googled him, but I searched him somehow online. I heard a radio interview. And I wanted to know, he's a retired ATF agent. I call him. I go, JJ Newberry, I want you to be my mentor. I want to be the next JJ Newberry. I keep seeing all these quotes from you. You're so well revered here at ATF. I want you to teach me what you know. I don't hear from him for a month then. And a month later, my phone calls. He goes, Janine, JJ. It was like the Buddha calling me, and I was like,
sure.
JJ,
Absolutely.
hi, and I'm trying to play it off cool. And I'm like, hi. And he goes, listen, I'm coming to town tomorrow from California. I'm training DOD, Department of Defense, clandestine spies. I want you to come and observe. I want you to, and I'm gonna see, size you up. I go, well, what took you so long to call me? He goes, I had to call people in ATF to make sure you're legit before I invest time in you. I went, and he called my son Angus Little Bull when he was little. Now he's 6'1" and 16. And but he has dementia now, which is devastating. But that's a story for another time. But JJ Newberry taught me all these things. And this is what he said. It makes me emotional. He goes, I'm going to give this to you for free, right? He doesn't ask for 10% back of the money that I make every year, a part of my book deal. I got almost a $250,000 book deal for my first book. He didn't ask for 1%. He said this, take what I teach you and make it your own. Add to it. And I do give back. I give back in different ways to women's groups. I speak to a group called Camp Empowerment every now and then. It's a sleepaway camp for 4 days. I pay for my travel. I'm there for the 3 or 4 days. I fly out. I speak to schools for free. I tell people I want to speak for free, especially online now. It's so easy. There's a school out of New Jersey that has me every year, and I do 4. They said, we have 4 different classes. What time works for you? And I go, well, is it all the same topic? Well, yeah. I go, great. I'll do all 4. And they're like, you will? And I go, yeah. Why? They're like, oh, now there's a lawnmower across the street. They go, well, I go, what are you going to do? You going to record me and show me to the other 3 classes? How do they get to ask me questions live? They don't get to ask me questions. So that's where I get it from, is my parents, and then JJ witnessing lovely, lovely, warm people like yourself doing great, generous things, it inspires me. Touch moves inspires me. Now we're going to my back porch.
Hey, we're gonna touch. I think we're touching every room.
On your LinkedIn page, you say this: if you protect your downside, the upside will always take care of itself naturally.
Yeah.
What does that mean? I don't know what that means.
Well, let me explain. So I am a commercial real estate expert. This is all I know, and this is what I built my career on. What that means is, if you can when you do the due diligence on say an acquisition of property. So what we own is we own commercial real estate throughout the United States. That's what I do for a living. We have funds that we have folks like yourself that invest money, and I'll diversify your capital over a large pool of assets.
Oh, good. Count me in. All right.
We're in the process of raising a fund, so we'll have someone follow up with you.
Yeah, I just got a big contract.
You would dig what I do. Okay. It's conservative investing with upside. So what protects the downside means is that when you do your due diligence, okay, if you can understand all the real estate fundamentals, and for example, protecting your downside is, let's say you buy a single tenant net lease asset, single tenant building with one tenant. Well, protecting your downside is, what is the rent compared to market? So God forbid I lose a tenant. How do I protect my downside? That's really what we're talking about. We invest a tremendous amount of money in due diligence, and through software analysis, we pick up the phone and we call local brokers, appraisers. We get what I call our arms around the market. You have to. And if you can understand your downside, so for example, you have a property. Where's your rent compared to market? What are the vacancy rates in that submarket? What are the absorption rates? What are the barriers to entry for new competition to come in? So my staff and myself, we do a deep dive in every property that we acquire and own. And when I say protect your downside, is learn those real estate fundamentals. Understand that, God forbid, you have an issue or a challenge. How do you protect your asset? It could be you need enough reserves. It could be, how do you mitigate the risk if rent is above market? We look at all these factors. I mean, we have specific criteria when we go in and we buy a medical property. So what I do for the past 17 years out of my 28-year career is we focus on medical and veterinarian properties. And I have a saying, and maybe I should trademark it. Someone's going to do it, but I don't care. The human body is never going out of style. So during the pandemic and throughout recessions, we collect rent, which is great. We just gave a webinar in front of thousands of doctors yesterday, and we talked about this, why investing in, and these are doctors, these are who our tenants are, and we explained to them why it's so beneficial to invest in medical properties, not own your building, what the benefits are, what the drawbacks are. And so we educate people. So to answer your question, protecting your downside is really doing your homework and understanding your asset, that if you have challenges, and because of the experience and the 200 plus years of experience my leadership team has within my company, we understand how to protect the downside, because we do enough homework and we make sure we buy a property correctly so we can protect those variables that pop its ugly head and says, okay, I'll renew my lease, but I want to lower the rent, or I want additional funds in order to renew, or I'm leaving. Well, why did they leave? Was it poor management on behalf of Alliance, my company? Was it, new competition came in and rents were cheaper? So you have to know what I call the lay of the land when you go into a market. And it's why, Janine, we focus on investing in certain markets where it's high population growth, good residential markets, good healthcare policies in certain states. So that's where we put our capital. So I know it's a long-winded answer, but there's a lot of factors that go into protecting your downside and a lot of experience. And that's why people invest with us from all over the world.
I'm totally going to invest. I want to show you how my brain works, okay?
I'm listening.
I can take your line right here about protecting your downside, and the upside will take care of itself, and relate it to me. Body language. protecting your downside in my world is knowing what you're saying without saying a word, because your potential biggest downside is you. Are you coming across as trustworthy, authentic? Are you coming across as valuable, as an authoritative person? Are you being warm and likable? Warmth and likability equals trust. So do you know, protecting your downside is knowing what you're saying. This is emotional intelligence, right? Self-awareness, social awareness. So then getting prepared to talk to somebody, especially if it's like you want me to invest X amount of money. Are you going on YouTube and finding out what my baseline is? Does Janine usually talk with two hands? Does Janine look down a lot? Does she scratch? I'm fidgety, so I do move and scratch a lot. Do you have the person's baseline before you get into the meeting? If you can do all this due diligence up front, all this work, you said this is where you spend most of your money and most of your time and assets, protecting that downside. If you can know what you're saying, invest in you, know what your client is revealing as their baseline, just like I did with the Johnny Depp trial. To prepare for this, I went and watched every interview I could find on Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, on Ellen, on Oprah, the Today Show. He's quirky. He touches his face. This is his MO. He laughs when he's nervous and talks about abuse from his mother or Amber. This like nervous little laugh. I got his baseline down. He's talks slow. He's originally from Kentucky. His best friend was his grandpa. He called him Pop Pop. And the grandfather would be in the field collecting coffee beans. And he was a storyteller. And Johnny would love these stories. And his uncle was a preacher. And this was until he was 7. At 7, Johnny Depp moves to Florida. At Florida, he's going into bars. And at bars, he's 13 with a fake ID because he likes music. Well, people are like, where does Johnny Depp get his accent from? Boom, I'm asked that on TV. I've done my due diligence. I know this without even knowing that question's coming my way. They're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. I go, listen, it's not your accent, it's your dialect. Your dialect is a combination between your accent and word choices you use, because he uses unique word choices. And this comes from our childhood, our best friends, our next door neighbors. He grew up in Kentucky. There was a study done, Ben, that the sexiest accents in the United States of America. Can you guess what number one is? What state it comes from?
Well, I anticipate it's got to be Chicago, like me, because it's really sexy when you say
yeah.
When you say
Chicago,
when you can say Chicago like I do.
Chicago's off the charts. Like, it's really off the charts. Number one.
All right, give me the truth. Give me the truth. What's sexy? You're gonna lower me, but go ahead.
Texas was number one.
Okay, that's sexy. I love Texas.
Kentucky makes the top list. Kentucky has this Midwestern Southern like draw that we hear Johnny Depp's voice. And then Johnny at 13 has a fake ID. He's in bars. He was an outcast, right? In Florida, they moved around 20 places. No one liked him. He ends up being in trouble, drugs and all this stuff. And he's hanging around in bars at 13 with men with deep voices. So when we hear and plus he's spoken and traveled all around the world and acts with all these accents, that it's his authentic self on the stand. What I have done here is I have protected my downside, which would have been my weakness, to not know what am I saying on these TV interviews. So when people watch me on TV, they know I'm the best, because there's a different body language expert every single day. But hit Google, look at how many articles are then quoting different body language experts, how many times my name might pop up. What am I saying? And the other experts hopefully have good credibility with their body language too. I don't think they have my moxie, my humor.
No, they definitely
I like these metaphors and analogies, but I'm protecting my downside. I'm prepared. I'm looking at Johnny Depp's baseline. I'm looking at Amber Heard's. So when something weird happens in the stand, like Amber giving eye contact, she's talking about this sexual abuse and being beaten up, but she's giving eye contact to the jury. Well, I know, because I've protected my downside, I've done the research, due diligence, that when people are talking about trauma, they go internal. And they go internal. Their head tends to go down as they process with emotion. So her staring at the jury, she may be coached to do it, will backfire on her. Because they'll say, no, when I'm sad, I'm not like this. Guess what happened? I had, this bottle shoved inside my body. Can you believe it?
That's great. It's nuts. But it's interesting because what you said is exactly what so my director of investor relations, she happened to be my teacher. So I hired her. She was like you. It'd be like hiring you to raise money. And she kind of reminds me of you, which is kind of scary in a way.
I I said, you lucky duck.
Oh, I know. You know what? I'm blessed. I got 2 of you in my life. Uh, so what she teaches it is she can read body language like you. So it's one of the reasons why the video calls are so tremendous, because you're out there in the public. Like, our investors are kind of hidden. I mean, like you, successful. Some of them are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. They're not doing YouTube ads. These are old school 70, 80, 65-year-old gentlemen or women, very successful women too, that invest with us. And when you can read their body language, so I always like to know, are they audio, visual, digital audio, or kinesthetic? And once I know that, and she knows all this because she teaches it, so it's lethal. And then all of a sudden she starts parking language into your brain, because we always take people from the crocodile to the neocortex, just like I did with you. It's like I have 200 plus years on my leadership team. That's what, even without me. So you're walking into a strong, established, well-versed platform that has a lot of experience in commercial real estate. You're investing in people. And what I do to hit that also is, people ask me all the time, like, who do you invest with, other sponsors, other funds, etc. And I always lean on is who can solve challenges. I always bet on the horse that can solve problems. Anyone can pay you a preferred return in our business or other funds or stocks or whatever. But I am big on transparency, and I am big on being able to solve challenges. And that's why people invest with us. But that's how we do it in our pitch to people. And so when you say, due diligence and doing your homework and stuff, that's exactly what we do. That is the key. Our business is a marathon business. It's a lot different than you go and you public speak, you get a fee and all that. Ours is a capital events business. So that's how it works, and that's what I do. And just a little background. But by the way, this we'll talk about that on the Janine Driver show. We could do a deep dive, and we're gonna. By the way, you're gonna come back plenty of times on this show, because you are such a delight. You are such a blessing to everyone in the world. Your messages resonate with everyone. Everyone can learn from your stuff. I encourage everyone, go on Janine Driver. I'll do your own plugs. You don't even need it. I know everything about you. I'm your guy. So JanineDriver.com, great website, really well done, has a lot of content. It allows you to go see her different TED Talks, so it's like a one-stop shop. It is a Janine Driver smorgasbord. That's what I call it when you go on her website. It's awesome. And by the way, when you come out with new content that I'm gonna learn, will you just text me and say, you got to watch this? Because you know how much I love you and your stuff. So I need to be on the cutting edge of when new stuff comes out. That's got to be in your brain. Okay.
Let's
make that happen
right now, Ben, because this is something very interesting about Johnny Depp, and I compare him to Drew Peterson, who's in jail for murdering his third wife, Kathleen Savio. Did you see this one already?
I mean, I've seen so many. I'd have to go back and say, looking, it's like, what have I seen? What have not? Once I start watching it, then I realize, okay, I saw this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sending.
All right. Well, we have to wrap up. I want to ask you 3 questions.
Yes.
All right. All right. So if you close your eyes and you're the 16-year-old Janine Driver, this gorgeous blonde, brash with the thick New England accent. What is the Janine Driver, from everything you've learned? What would you tell your 16-year-old self?
This is nothing profound.
It doesn't have to be. This is off the cuff. Give me what's in your head and lay it on the table. Let's do it.
This is it.
All right.
What other people think about you is none of your business.
That's right. This is the raw Janine. This is authentic, who you are.
What other people think about you is none of your business. Like right now, I was just at this COP event, and I'm 80 pounds overweight. I just went through a divorce last year. I was physically fit just beforehand. I had lost all this weight. I was exercising. So now I'm getting back on it. And I know this time next year, I'll be like, I'm an athlete underneath it all. And when you're around cops who are in great shape, you feel judged. They are judging you. I'm reading their body language. And I just have to remind myself, what they think about me is none of my business. One time I remember, because I've gone up and down in weight, I'm sure it connects to abuse as a kid from this neighbor, but this one guy who's a military guy, all buff, And he had like, I don't know if you've heard me tell this story, but I'm not a military person. So, but he had all this swag, like TGI Fridays, like off the hook, these badges and patches. So I know he's important. And I'm sitting down. This is at the DOD for an event. And he looked me up and down. And this was, I don't know, 15 years ago, or maybe 20. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And he asked if any of us had seen, there's a group of us here, like 5 of us. And he said, did anyone see any good movies lately? And I go, he's sitting to my left. And I go, yeah, I have. And he goes, anyone see any good movies? There's only 5 of us. I go, yeah, I have. You know what the movie was that movie, I See Dead People. That's how long ago this was. Remember that?
Right. Yep.
Whatever that is with Tom Hanks. Not Tom Hanks, with
no, it's with
Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis. Right. That's 7 Cents or something like that.
Yeah, 6 Cents or something.
It doesn't matter. Keep going.
So he goes, anybody? And he doesn't say anything. I mean, he ignores me. I go, yeah, me. He doesn't say anything. Now my friends are these like retired Marines right on the other side of the table, and they're not saying anything. It's awkward. And I looked at the guy and I tapped him on the shoulder. And had you been there with me, you would have seen me tap him on the shoulder. Excuse me. He goes, yeah. I go, you don't have to be intimidated by me. And as you might imagine, he's like, what? Excuse me? I'm not intimidated by you. I go, oh. I go, it's just one of 2 things happens. You've been asking a question and I'm answering. And in my experience, one of 2 things is going on. Either you're being disrespectful and rude, which with all these awards, you've clearly been honored by the military. You're a Marine. I think of Marines as very respectful, love our country and the people that live here. So it can't be that. So it's got to be, you've got to be intimidated by me. I go, listen, I know body language and I'm a specialist at detecting deception, but I'm not judging you here. I'm just enjoying a nice lunch. I'm just a dumb kid from Boston.
All right. Well, let's jump to our second one then. So it's your last day on Earth. Okay. And I love this question. What's your last meal? Now it can be anywhere. You can go anywhere. You could have it brought in. What is the meal of choice here? This is it. The world's ending. You have your last meal. You're going to pick whatever you want. What is it?
I'm with my kids.
Okay.
And the people I love. Maybe my sisters are here and her kids. Definitely with my kids. And it's peanut butter and jelly.
Wow.
Not the crunchy peanut butter, although every now and then I like that.
What are you washing that down with?
Fresh bread, though. This fresh Italian bread where it's super soft.
Okay.
And that creamy, skippy peanut butter, which is probably not good for us.
Okay.
And strawberry jelly.
Okay.
And we're sitting out and having a picnic in the backyard. We do these.
And what are you washing that down with?
Water.
Because peanut butter sticks to you. It's like you start choking. What is it? Water?
Just water.
Just water. Okay, you really are on a health kick.
Water. All right. Well, I don't know if peanut butter and jelly is healthy.
Well, it's your last meal. Who cares?
Yeah, nice fresh peanut butter and jelly.
Are you concerned when it's your last meal? It's like start judging what you're eating. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. All right. So look at this cool studio. This is the I Own It studio. Okay. And we have guitars and a drum set and a grand piano next to me. By the way, next time we do this, you have to be sitting next to me.
I would love it. Where is it? Where are you?
I'm in Laguna Beach.
Oh, Laguna.
Okay. So if you like warm weather and, blue skies and good food down the block, we could have, I know you don't drink, but
you're a water guy. I see some water bottles there. You need a coaster under those bottles. Yeah. Well,
thanks, Mom. I'll make a note to Michelle. Michelle, can you fix that for Janine? So with everything we have in here, if you were sitting next to me and we could bring in a musician or a band to play a song, and it could be anyone, it could be someone that's deceased, someone that's currently living. Who is it? Who would you love to sit with us and play us a song that would just totally resonate with you and something you would love to see? Who would that be?
Oh my God. All right. Oh my God, that's so tough. All right. So we have an opening act. So the opening act is James Taylor, and he's got his guitar and he's just hanging out and just talking.
I would love that. Who else?
Yeah. And then we have, oh my God, and he's escaping my head now. He's a country singer. My mom loved listening to him.
Hank Williams Jr.?
Hank Williams Jr.
Okay.
Hank Williams Jr. I like some
Cool.
country. I see you're not vibing with my
All
country vibe here.
All right. Well,
And then the last, because of the two
uh-huh.
last, the last one,
Uh-huh.
it's going to sound crazy, is Johnny Depp just playing his
Uh-huh.
guitar, giving him a break from all the
Cool.
stuff that's happening in the courtroom. And I think he's an addict, but I'd love to
All
just
right.
love him up during this time of pain and suffering right now. And my hope is that he's able to turn it around, like Robert Downey Jr. turned it around. He had this awakening, and maybe this will be that. I love people who have comebacks in big ways. So I'd love to the final person to be Johnny Depp, and we're all hanging out with Johnny.
Well, obviously everyone can see you on Court TV over the next week. Is that where you're going to be?
Yeah,
Okay.
and Nancy Grace special Friday night
All
on
right.
CNN.
Well, I just want to thank you. I love you to death. You're always a wealth of knowledge, and you're pretty funny too. Sometimes I don't realize how funny you are, which is always intriguing to me. I just want to thank you. It was so good to see you, and thank you again for all the knowledge you share and the value you offer to everyone. I'm very grateful for that. And
it looks like I'm going to become a business partner because I want to invest in one of your. I don't want to.
well,
Well,
you're passive, lady. You just have to sit back and enjoy the ride. That's how it works when you come into Alliance's world. But I do wanna thank you. Janine Driver, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure. I'm going to give you a kiss because you're wonderful. I give you a hug, but you're not in studio. So
not yet.
Next time you'll be sitting right here with me. Okay.
Awesome.
All right.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
All right. Be well. Have a great weekend.
Thank you for listening to the I Own It podcast with Ben Reinberg. To hear our past episodes and connect with Ben, visit benreinberg.com.